Hey everyone, what's up? It's Jacob here, and I thought today I would do just like a little sit down talk and stuff like that. I know it's been a while since I've uploaded a video. The main reason is because I've been really busy, I've been really stressed out. It's good to see you guys again. That's right, I can see you. I can see you through the screen. We have a little friend here today, and I want to introduce you guys to Louie. So this is Louie. Say hi, Louie. Hi, Louie. You're so sarcastic. He's a little bit shy. I think he's cranky because I just took him out of his enclosure, and I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about him, and I wanted to talk to you especially if you are interested in owning a reptile, or as I like to say, adopting a reptile. I don't really like the use of the word ownership. Let me start off by saying that Louie was not purchased at a pet store. He's a rescue animal. I've had him for I want to say maybe 8 or 9 years. I don't remember. I'll have to think about it a minute. And he's, he came to me through a series of circumstances, which I'll talk about in just a second. Huh? I lost my train of thought. A few things you might notice is I have some of my own personal artwork behind me. If you saw my apartment tour when I lived in a different town, you may remember some of this artwork right here, right behind me. I know one of the tentacles is actually a little bit short, and it bothers me. I see that like every day, and I want to change it. I can't sleep at night just thinking about this tentacle. Trust me, it stresses me out big time. Louie! Louie! He likes you. He's smelling you. Now, the story of how I got Louie is a little interesting. Like I said, I've had him for about 8 years, and I got him thanks to my sister. Louie is in fact 22 years old. Can you believe it? He's probably older than some of you guys that are watching this video. Maybe younger, I don't know. Certainly younger than me, that's for sure. He's so cute. He's adorable, right? He's old enough to drink now. Isn't that right, Louie? I tried it, didn't work. Yeah, I couldn't buy him a drink. Gotta make sure my fly's zipped up. Yeah, it's good. It's all good, guys. I've actually measured him, and so he's approximately 4 feet minus 1 inch, and he's 100% adorable. Isn't he adorable? You know, if he poops on me, it'll be really funny. Sometimes he'll just like, I don't know, he doesn't care where he goes. He just does it. Louie is not the only reptile I own. I also have a leopard gecko. I'll do a video on him later on. Actually, I do have kind of a small video if you check out my channel. Here's the story of how I got him. So my sister is a teacher, and she's the one that first acquired him. And the way she acquired him was that there was another teacher. This was a 3rd grade teacher, and this is Mrs. Ham. Mrs. Ham had him in her classroom for years, okay? And the way she got him was that one of her students brought a baby snake. It was a hatchling, and I guess I don't know where she got it from, and probably like from a pet store or something like that. And her mom straight up said, no, we don't want this thing in our house. Poor little baby. So she asked her teacher, hey, I have a snake. It's a baby. What can I do with it? She said, well, bring it to the classroom. So it became a classroom pet. She eventually acquired a 2nd snake, and then she had a couple of salamanders. I'm checking my hair. Checking my hair. I have bedheadedness in the afternoon. Yeah, I've been having a bad hair day. So when she retired, her husband was like, no, we don't want any snakes in my house. I'm sorry, Louie. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Miss Ham and my sister were already friends and stuff, and she actually taught her son, my nephew. So she asked him if they wanted the snake. So my sister, being a kindergarten teacher, said, yeah, we'll take it for the kindergarten. They took care of him for a while. You know, they had him like in the science room and stuff. My sister was the one that would feed him. All the other teachers were afraid to feed him, and she used to take him to the coffee room. He was a little bit smaller. I actually have a picture of Louie when he was at the kindergarten. So this is his picture. Make sure it's not upside down. That's when he was at the kindergarten. So isn't he adorable? Look how young he was. He's so cute. You gotta admit, he's probably the cutest snake in the world. Until he craps or pees on me. Ah. Okay. Well, that's not good. Anyway, so he was at the kindergarten for a few years. My sister would take care of him. Like I said, the other teachers were sort of afraid of him. I don't know why. So one summer, I guess he spent the summer at the kindergarten, and he was pretty much neglected that whole time. And my sister was the one that was supposed to be taking care of him. I mean, they were kind of taking turns. And so I was at my sister's house, and then a preview for the show Louie pops on the screen. And then my sister screams, she goes, "Oh my God, Louie!" I said, "Yeah, it's Louie, it's a TV show." She goes, "No, Louie the Snake." I said, "What do you mean Louie the Snake?" She said, "I left him at the kindergarten." So we raced over to the kindergarten. When we got there, it turns out he actually had a respiratory infection, from what I come to understand now. It's really common among reptiles. If you decide to become a reptile owner, or if you're a new reptile owner, understand that respiratory problems or infections can affect your snakes. We were living in the desert at the time, and so humidity is kind of, it's hard to keep the humidity up. So he was somewhat desiccated, and he was wheezing, in and out. And it's kind of hard to recount this story without getting emotional, because I love him so much, and it's hard to imagine that he was in this position. My heart went out to him. I held him in my arms. He was wheezing, and we took him home. We nursed him back to health, and he was okay. Later on, my sister asked me if I wanted him. I'm like, "What? Really? Like, I can have him?" Because they didn't want him anymore. He was kind of, too much trouble. I've been wanting a snake, and I didn't want to buy one at the pet store. This was, many, many years ago. At this time, I was somewhat fresh out of college, and I was just working at different jobs. I hadn't really started my career yet. So I didn't have a place to stay, per se. I was just, at the time I was living at my parents' house. I had to move back in with my parents. Anyway, so when I started teaching, I was starting to earn a sufficient income, and I actually built him a cage. It was a really nice cage. I ended up destroying it later on accidentally. The thing is, I thought I'd do some modifications on it. I lived in an apartment, but I used my sister's garage and to build it. And later on, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna change a few things. I might shrink a few details. I did some calculations. I didn't calculate enough. All I had was a jigsaw, mind you. So yeah, I ended up destroying it. So that morning, I woke up really early, and I drove over to a pet store, and I bought him the nice cage he's got now. Watch my video on the Monahan's apartment tour, and you'll see I show off the cage, and I actually painted the background. Now you might notice this apartment's a little bit different. This is actually not really my apartment per se. I won't worry with too many details, but basically, as you know, Hurricane Harvey hit, and this was ground zero right here. And I was living in the same apartment complex, where my apartment was further down that way. And see, the thing is, it was destroyed. The walls were cracked. The ceiling was dropping down. A lot of my stuff had mold on it. The mold was just like the walls were just like creeping with mold. Even this painting had some mold on the back of it, but I treated it. I had to move out. I didn't have a place to stay for a little bit. They were able to find this place, which was actually more expensive. I'm paying higher rent. You may notice I don't have furniture. I feel like we're connected, it's like our hearts are one. Isn't he adorable? Isn't he adorable? Yeah, he loves me a lot. And somehow he's actually attracted to women. I talked to his previous owner. I actually got to see her years later, and she was surprised to know that I had Louie. I showed her some pictures, and she was relieved that I was taking really good care of him. And as you can see, he's really healthy. Apparently the other snake that she had died, and so did the salamanders. But Louie is okay. So if you're interested in owning a reptile, I would advise you to not purchase them at a pet store. I would also advise you to not heed their advice. Find information on your own, okay? And that might be from books. This is one of the books that I have that I ordered on ball pythons, and it's got some basic care, but it also has a lot of neat pictures and different varieties and stuff like that. And so you can check it out. I probably bought it on Amazon, I think. It was a really good price. It was about $10, so definitely worth it. Knowledge is worth it. It's worth the money. Spend your money for knowledge. In my opinion, I think ball pythons are probably the cutest snakes. Now, if you're going to purchase a reptile and you like snakes, if you like kind of the larger variety, I do recommend ball pythons, because they're somewhat, I don't want to say easy to care for. I don't want to give you that misconception. All reptiles are equally challenging to care for, but of all the reptiles, they're pretty docile. As far as care, they're the easiest. I'm not saying that they're easy, they're the easiest, okay? You may even consider something like a corn snake. Those are also easier. They may even be easier in the fact that they're a lot smaller than ball pythons. Now, Louie is a male, obviously. I know because I've had him, I've taken him to the vet. And that's another thing. If you're going to own a reptile, they're pets just like cats and dogs. They're not toys. They're not something that you just show off. You're going to have to take them to the vet every so often, get them a checkup and stuff like that. And so I did take Louie to the vet. Usually they'll give them a vitamin D shot whether they need it or not. The way they sex them is they have reptiles, just like birds, they have a cloaca right here. And so let's just say they had to sort of, I don't want to massage him too much because he might crap on me, but let's just say they had to sort of probe him. Yeah, so you weren't very happy about that, were you, Louie? You were not happy about that. And so they kind of feel around. They can tell if it's a male or a female. I chose a doctor that I felt was like good with reptiles. I did some research, and the fact that he started consulting a book when he thought I wasn't looking, I'm like, oh no, you don't know what you're doing, buddy, do you? No, but he did pretty good, I think. Yeah, I don't often take him out in the public much, simply because people freak out. Now, here's a big rule in owning a snake. You got to understand that people do not. Some people don't take the snakes very kindly, and if you have the snake, they have to be aware that you have it, because you don't want to freak them out. Snakes are feared enough as it is, and not rightly so, in my opinion. As you can see, they're very docile. They're beautiful creatures. They're necessary because they keep rodent populations down. They're part of our biological food chain. Without snakes, the whole world will basically fall apart. Everything is necessary. And I also hate when people brag about going off and just killing snakes just randomly. Yeah, I hate snakes, I go and kill them. Don't kill a snake unless you really have to, okay? Or if you're gonna eat it, that's different. But if it has to do with the protection of an animal or your child, if you can avoid killing it, please, I advise that you don't. And I tell this to people, especially here in Texas, and they just like gripe at me. They yell at me like, they say, what are you talking about? They're dangerous. It means you don't care about my kid. You don't care about my kid. What do you mean don't kill the snake? I'm gonna kill the snake. So that's why I say don't kill it unless you really have to. If the snake is just out in the woods or in the brush, and I know people, they just go up there and deliberately kill them. I hate snakes. Boom. And that just really pisses me off. Snakes have actually different personalities. And I've handled a lot of snakes. And that's another thing about being a reptile owner, is that you want to hang out with people that are also reptile owners. You want to talk to them. They give you ideas. Don't just rely on the internet. Yeah, there's a lot of blogs and stuff that you can read and get some information. But actual reptile owners, breeders, talk to the breeders and stuff like that. Don't just rely on the pet stores, PetSmart, Petco, places like that. Yeah, they may be trained to say certain things, but they're not 100% all that savvy about reptiles. So one thing when you first purchase your snake, I would recommend going through a breeder. Someone that is safe. It's not caught from the wild or anything like that. And I would make sure that I have all the equipment set up first. Hey, baby, what you doing? And you're gonna have to decide what species you want. You're gonna have to decide what size do you want. Do you want a full-grown one? A full-grown snake like this can cost up to $500, probably even more. A baby snake will be a lot less, and then you get to spend a lot more time with them. These guys get to live up to 30 years, and like I said before, he's 22. So what you'll need is a habitat, depending on the size of your animal. An animal like this, I have them a large. I think it's like 18 by, oh heck, I don't remember. I think the cage is like 3 feet wide and 18 high. Basically, I got him the biggest cage. You also got to consider, is your snake a ground snake or is it arboreal? Like an emerald green tree boa, which I don't recommend as a first snake. Those are more higher maintenance, but they're beautiful. They call them emerald green for a reason. They're iridescent. But those are more of sort of a tree climbing snake from the rainforest. And those require more of a vertical habitat. Now, ball pythons, they're native to Central Africa. They live in grasslands and they live in the edge of forests. So they require more of a horizontal area, but you still want to have those climbing options. I actually have a vine in my snake cage. And again, check out my video on Monty Hand's apartment tour and you'll see it. I don't want to pan you this way because it's kind of a mess right now. Think about the species and think about their natural requirements. Now, any reptile that you own will need to have a heating area and then a cooling area. Research the temperature that your animal must have. Talk to breeders, talk to people, get some internet, and try to get the best advice so you'll know how hot should the hottest section of my cage be and how cool should the coolest section of my cage be. If you watch that video, you'll see the way it's organized. And the thing about owning reptiles, and you're going to experience other reptile owners that are going to be criticizing you and saying, you're not doing this right, you're not doing this right. And even I might have some viewers telling me, hey buddy, you're doing things wrong, you're handling them too much, you're moving too much. And I just advise you that you take their advice with a grain of salt, but you heed their advice. If you're concerned about something that you're doing and somebody pointed something out, research. Or if this person's an expert, talk to them. Say, hey, okay, you told me I'm doing this wrong. What can I do to change it? Talk to people that know more about reptiles than you do. Okay, and so owning reptiles is a big responsibility. And you should be willing to invest the time to take care of them because it's very rewarding in the end. And they're very relaxing. I know he helps me out after a stressful day. He's looking at you. You may notice they flick their tongues a lot. This is how they smell. And the way they smell is they have an organ on the top of their mouth right here. This organ's called the Jacobson organ. And they're tasting the particles in the air, and they touch it to that organ, and that's how they're able to pick up their scent. Yeah, I have buffaloes that live upstairs. He's very inquisitive. He's like trying to figure out what this is. It's a camera, Louie. You're on camera. There's a lot of people looking at you right now. You don't even realize it. You notice these little holes on the side of his mouth? Those are called labial pits, and it's L-A-B-I-A-L. And the labial pits are used to detect heat, like a shark. And so since these babies are nocturnal, they rely on these things to help them find their prey. And you might notice that their eyes are somewhat like, let's see if I can get him. Isn't he adorable? Look at his big old eyeballs. Their eyes are like cat eyes. And see underneath they have, these are called caudal scales. And caudal scales help the animal climb. Now Louie's are what you call ticklish. You can see how, a lot of people say, look, my snake's ticklish, and they rub their belly. You're the one that got in my way. They rub their belly, and you see how the scales kind of like they push in like that. Now it's not necessary that they're ticklish. It is in a way, and I'll explain why. The reason that their caudal scales move that way when you touch them is because it's to help them climb, so that they're able to grip the branches and stuff like that. Now, if I'm actually barefoot right now, but you know that if somebody scratches the bottom of your foot, tickle, your feet kind of contract like that. And again, that goes back to our primitive tree ancestors, and it's enabling us to grip onto the branches and stuff like that. A lot of people can't really climb trees anymore nowadays. And speaking of caudal scales, one thing I don't understand in fantasy art is, why do dragons have caudal scales? They have 4 legs. There's no reason for them to have caudal scales. It's just people trying to make them more somewhat serpent-like, I guess, but biologically it doesn't make any sense. Then biologically dragons don't make any sense because this thing couldn't possibly fly. This is what you call a ghost variety. You can see why. I actually have his pattern memorized. If you were to throw Louie in with a bunch of ball pythons the same size, I would be able to recognize him because of the scales, because of the pattern, I mean. And that's the thing, if you start to get into the ball pythons, there's many different varieties. Some are more expensive than others. And you have even albinos, and albinos are specifically bred for that recessive gene. Albino snakes would not survive in the wild because they can't camouflage. And they're going to be easily picked off by a predator at a very young age. And I love albino snakes and stuff. They're extremely expensive, but I kind of prefer the more natural variety. I like the idea of somewhat kind of like having a zoo in my own home. I was just talking made me hungry, so I'm going to eat a little snack for a minute. Remember, after you handle a reptile, always wash your hands before you eat. I just did, alright? One thing that I find particularly interesting is that whenever I show him to people, and they always ask the same dang question, and it pisses me off, and they say, does he bite? You know, and I asked them the same thing. I said, what about your dog? What about your cat? Do people automatically, they ask you, does he bite? And to tell you the truth, I'd rather be bit by Louie many times than bit by a large dog. Snakes are just as likely to bite as a cat or a dog. Depends on their personality, it depends on how tame they are, it depends on the person that's handling them. If they're handling them too rough or whatever, they might bite. It also depends on if the animal believes that you are feeding him. And you know, that's happened a couple of times where I'll be feeding Louie and he'll miss and he'll just like grab onto my hand with his teeth, with his very sharp teeth, and he'll just wrap his whole body around me. And he's just doing this because he thinks that he got his prey, and all his instincts kick in and he goes into feeding mode, okay? If a snake bites you, there's nothing to panic about. To tell you the truth, it does not hurt at all. It just kind of tickles a little bit with the sensation of the small teeth. They do not have fangs because they're not venomous, and they don't. Only venomous snakes require fangs, which are essentially like hypodermic needles. They do have a series of very pointy, backwards-facing teeth. The teeth are designed to lock on to their prey, and keeps them from going anywhere but inside their mouth. It's interesting to note that I know he's got a small head, but the fact that he can eat prey that's a lot larger than his head attests to the beauty of evolution. And see, the way it works is that their bottom jaw can actually unhinge like that. There's a misconception and there's a myth that their bottom jaw dislocates. That is not true. Their bottom jaw is shaped like this, and then when they open their mouth, they're able to expand it really wide, and their skin stretches. And if you look underneath his little cute head right here, you'll see that there's like a line. Let's see if I can get him to cooperate. I don't want to stress him out, but you see that line right there? And that's like where the skin folds and they're able to expand it. They can swallow prey a lot larger than themselves, and then besides, their rib cage can actually expand and allow it to go, and you can actually see it going down, and it'll eventually go into the stomach. And the stomach area is like right in here where they'll digest. It's really relaxing to feel the muscles, the way they just move and undulate. They're such perfect creatures in a lot of ways, and they're so prehistoric. Snakes actually evolved from four-legged animals like resembling lizards. And snakes have what's called vestigial traits, like a lot of animals do. And a vestigial trait is like a leftover body part that hasn't quite disappeared yet. So here in their cloaca area, as you can see, they have like two little spurs, which they use when they're breeding. And those are somewhat leftover claws from their ancestors. You know, one thing about being a responsible snake owner, and this is very important, is, you know, I just told you in this video that you must keep learning. You do not stop learning. And when you ask people, you read books, you research all the time. Never stop learning about how to take care of your animal, because you want to provide the best home for your animal. And because they are very beautiful, they are very rewarding, okay? Remember that your snake is not a toy. You know, don't be taking him to the clubs and stuff like that. But do take him out and play with him. You got to watch them though, because they will disappear just like that. I'll tell you some stories later on of the times he's escaped. But it really takes a second. You turn away, you run to go answer the phone, and he's gone. He's gone. You can't find him. So yeah, we've had a few panics, right, Louie? And I think of myself as a responsible pet owner, and I still end up losing him. Okay, so you don't want to handle them like after they just ate, because they want to dedicate their energy to digesting. But other ways, you know, play with your animal, and the more you play with them, the more docile they'll become. They're so relaxing. You know, and the fact that they're just so slow, they're so calm. You can sit and watch a movie with them. You know, they will crap on you though. I'm not gonna lie. They don't care where they shit. They'll poop anywhere. They'll pee anywhere. They'll pee on your lap. Okay, it doesn't mean they don't like you. They're just animals. So a big part of being a responsible pet owner is that you should also educate people about snakes. Okay. When you're handling your snake in front of people, make sure that the person is okay to be around the snake. You know, don't go around chasing people around with a snake like, yeah, I want you to pet him. Look, he's so cute. Don't do that. That is not a way to get people to like snakes, okay? Education is a way to get people to like snakes. Talk a little bit about them like I did. You know, learn things, biological things. You might even get them to hold the snake, and I've done that before. I've had people that are really freaking scared of him, And after a little bit of talking, assuring them that I'm staying in one spot, you stay over there, he's fine, they'll get closer and closer, and they'll say, can I pet him? And so, you know, and the way I tell people to pet snakes is like this. You're gonna use your 2 fingers and you go from front to back. You gotta be gentle. And by showing people that, you know, you have to be gentle with a snake, that's showing them that they're fragile. And snakes are indeed fragile. They have a fragile bone structure. And you start getting it in their mind that, hey, they're delicate creatures. They're not monsters. And I've had people that are very unresponsive to snakes, or they respond very poorly. And eventually they'll say, can I hold him? I swear to God. So, you know, it depends on how you present yourself. All right, guys, this has been a really long video. And I still have to edit all this stuff. So, I hope you found this educational. There's so much more I could share with you. I'm not going to, though, because it's going to take forever. Again, owning a snake is awesome, and I love him. You know, we're so connected and stuff like that. Do your research before you know, and even after you purchase your animal. And, you know, you bond with your creature, and he sort of becomes a part of you. All right, so I know Louie can't speak our language, but I know he wishes you to have an excellent day or night or morning, wherever you are. He wants to wish you many blessings, and so do I. And please watch my other videos. This is kind of a different video than the ones I normally do. Check out my channel. Please give me a like. Please subscribe. Please share my videos. This helps a lot. And I promise you, when I have time, I'll do some more abandoned exploration videos. So anyway, peace, love, and happiness. See you guys later. Bye. Oh shit. Literally, he just shit on me. Yeah.